Welcome to Ballet Bites. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Shen Yun. You know, this touring sensation with its classical Chinese dance, silk sleeve bravoure, and those super polished digital backdrops, all under its China Before Communism banner.
Yep, absolutely. It's fascinating. Shen Yun is not just a performance. It's a cultural story wrapped up in a political narrative, right?
Exactly. It's like you go in expecting a museum gloss exhibit of traditional culture.
Yeah.
And then on stage, there's this whole narrative that critiques the CCP and cheers on Falun Gong values.
Right. And that blend of art with political messaging sets up two kinds of audience reactions. Some call it a rescue mission for China's classical heritage, while others feel misled by the unexpected ideology on stage.
Yeah, that split-screen reaction is really interesting. On one hand, the branding suggests a pure celebration of traditional art, but on the other, you suddenly get narratives of persecution and even scenes that recall organ harvesting, as noted by critics from The New Yorker and The Washington Post.
And, that raises a question. If audiences expect a purely cultural performance, shouldn't the marketing be more upfront about the political content?
Right. That's a key point. The China Before Communism tagline almost serves as a spoiler alert. It's like, you know when you order a dish that turns out to have an extra spicy kick you didn't quite expect?
Exactly. Let's pivot for a moment to what's happening behind the scenes. Former dancers have come forward with some serious allegations, haven't they?
They sure have. Since late 2024, multiple legal actions and interviews have painted a grim picture. We're talking about alleged training sessions that stretch up to 15 hours a day, strict behavioral rules, and alarmingly low pay, especially shocking when you consider the involvement of minors.
Yep, right? And there have been multiple lawsuits alleging, untreated injuries, intense pressure to perform despite physical harm, and even some dire claims about emotional manipulation and loss of freedom.
Exactly. For instance, we have cases reported by the Associated Press and NPR where former dancers, some starting as children, are claiming to have experienced not only intense training, but also a kind of psychological coercion.
And then there's the compound at Dragon Springs. That place sounds almost like a strict boarding school, with curfews and limitations on interactions outside the structured environment.
Absolutely. Dragon Springs in Cutterbackville, New York, functions as both a rehearsal space and an affiliated school with very strict rules. Imagine a setting where even dating is highly regulated and any minor deviation can lead to severe punishment.
Yeah. Now, Shen Yun has responded to these allegations, haven't they? They've denied any wrongdoing across the board.
They have. In press statements from mid-2024 to 2025, they've maintained that the media portrays their work environment inaccurately. They argue that the discipline and lifestyle norms they enforce are standard for elite academies and even religious schools.
But, to be honest, I find that a bit hard to swallow. I mean, comparing grueling training that's allegedly, exploitative to traditional elite disciplines might be oversimplifying things.
I get that. And yes, I might even respectfully challenge that comparison. While discipline is part and parcel of any rigorous artistic training, when you're talking about minors and allegations of coercive practices, it becomes a different ballgame.
And that brings us to another layer, the working conditions. Former testimonies describe long rehearsal hours, with some cases noting as little as $0 pay initially. That seriously raises ethical questions.
Exactly. It's like, imagine giving 15-hour days with barely enough time for rest, and on top of that, being pressured to push through injuries without proper medical care.
Yeah. Speaking of medical care, while Shen Yun claims to provide access to physical therapy and rehab both on tour and in training, there's a stark contrast with the reports of untreated injuries. This tension is hard to ignore.
That factual tension definitely highlights the need for clear oversight and genuine transparency about what's really happening inside these training pipelines.
Absolutely. On transparency, Shen Yun does release its IRS Form 990s, showing substantial assets, around $266 million back in 2023. But at the same time, we don't see detailed internal grievance procedures or independent oversight mechanisms publicly.
That's a good point. Without those frameworks, how can both dancers and audiences be assured that complaints are handled properly? It's like having a well-funded organization with lots of gloss, but lacking verifiable accountability in day-to-day operations.
And then there's the recruitment and visa controversies. The New York Times even reported potential visa fraud issues, which casts further doubt on the governance side of things.
Yup, Shen Yun has said they'll fully cooperate with any investigations. These red flags naturally stir up concerns about their immigration and labor practices.
Right. Now, moving to the audience perspective, what if you're someone buying a ticket? The tagline, China Before Communism, alone might set expectations, but many find themselves, surprised by explicit political messages or depictions of persecution once seated.
Exactly, and that disconnect can leave audiences feeling blindsided. It underlines why presenters might want to clarify the themes in program notes or even in the pre-show speeches.
So, it seems that clarity and informed consent should be at the forefront. Whether you're an audience member, a presenter, or even a dancer, knowing exactly what's on the table is essential.
Right, and it's not even about being anti-art, it's about being pro-artist. Transparency ensures everyone has the details they need, whether that's compensation, work hours, or the real nature of the performance's messaging.
To sum up, there are several key takeaways. First, the branding versus content debate. If the marketing suggests a cultural rescue, then clearly spell out any political or ideological stances.
Yes, absolutely. Artists and presenters should definitely ensure that patrons aren't caught off guard.
Second, dancer welfare. Modern standards dictate that there need to be written injury protocols, independent grievance procedures, and clear pathways for addressing canceled or delayed medical care.
Exactly. It's like if you're taking on any rigorous physical activity, be it training for performance or sports, you have to need safeguards in place.
Right. And then comes oversight, especially for institutions that are rooted in a faith or mission-based model. They should have published codes of conduct and transparent reporting lines to ensure that artistic rigor doesn't cross into coercion.
And it's crucial to define clearly when a performer is a student, an employee, or maybe both, so that labor laws and protections kick in appropriately.
Exactly. Lastly, context. Shen Yun reminds us that art often carries political messages, especially when rooted in real historical events, like the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners. At the same time, serious allegations from former dancers need independent scrutiny.
Right. So you get this twofold reality. On one side, the cultural and political narratives that resonate with some groups, and on the other, the labor and ethical challenges that can't be simply brushed aside.
It's indeed a balancing act. And for theaters and presenters, clear communication with audiences is key. Program notes should outline if a show carries a political message so that attendees know what they're getting into.
Yes, and the same goes for potential dancers and parent stakeholders. Before anyone signs up, they should insist on seeing handbooks, pay schedules, medical protocols, and grievance policies. It's all about transparency and accountability,
Right.
ensuring the artist's well-being above all.
You know, I think what really stands out is the global attention this performance garners, not just for its art, but for the controversies around artist welfare and institutional governance.
Absolutely, and that global spotlight forces a necessary conversation about what we demand from art institutions. It's like, if you're offering a piece of culture on the grand stage, you have to deliver both a compelling narrative and a safe, ethical environment.
Yep. And as we wrap up, remember, whether you're a theater goer, an artist, or a critic, informed consent, knowing exactly what you're supporting, is the way forward.
Exactly. So for anyone encountering Shen, check multiple reviews, seek out detailed documentation, and always weigh both the artistic spectacle and the alleged workplace realities. It's a conversation that continues to evolve, especially with court dockets and policy changes on the horizon.
That's a wrap for today. We hope our chat sheds some light on the intricate layers of Shen, from captivating performances to the pressing issues of labor and transparency.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Be sure to like, subscribe, and keep the conversation going in the comments, whether you're cheering for the art or raising questions about the practices behind the scenes.
Exactly.